I'm in pain, I'm suffering. So what the am I doing this? I promised myself I wouldn't do this to myself, my body, my family again.
Mike Tyson just delivered an update no boxing fan wanted to hear. And suddenly, the fight with Floyd Mayweather is off.
I know a lot of people are going to tune in if that fight does happen to see if whether or not Mike is going to be able to catch him. But in my opinion, folks, you're probably going to be let down.
For some time, rumors of delay were swirling, but no one expected it to collapse like this. So what really forced the cancellation? Let's break it down. The fight that may never happen. In September 2025, CSI Sports and Fight Sports announced that Mike Tyson and Floyd Mayweather had signed contracts for what they called a once-in-a-lifetime matchup, an exhibition fight scheduled for spring 2026. Tyson, on his Instagram in December 2025, said the fight would take place in March in Africa and that it would break all records and be one of the biggest events in the history of the sport. By mid-January 2026, posts on X from accounts like at Africa Facts Zone started picking up the story, confirming the continent but not naming the exact country. Then, on February 16, 2026, Ring Magazine's Mike Coppinger reported that the fight was tentatively set for April 25, 2026 in the Democratic Republic of Congo. That word, tentatively, is doing a lot of heavy lifting. It means nothing is locked in. It means the fight could still fall apart. And given everything we know about Tyson's body right now, that is not a small detail. Tyson himself, on February 13, 2026, told TMZ Sports, quote, "ST, yeah, it's happening," which sounds confident until you realize this is the same man who had to be rushed to the hospital in May 2024 because a ruptured peptic ulcer, nearly 3 inches wide, caused massive internal bleeding that required 10 blood transfusions and left him 26 pounds lighter. He asked his doctor if he was going to die. That was less than 2 years ago. And yet here he was, in another interview, talking about the fight like it was just another Tuesday.
So they told me to ask you, you about to fight Floyd Mayweather?
Yes.
You gonna fight for real?
That is how casual it is for him. Someone asks if he is about to fight one of the greatest defensive boxers in history at 59 years old, and he just says yes 4 times, like someone asked if he wants fries with that.
Floyd Mayweather.
Yes. I wasn't bothering nobody.
I love this guy. Like, why would he want to fight Iron Mike Tyson?
I was minding my business. I wasn't bothering nobody.
And even in the humor, there is something underneath it. Tyson was not looking for this fight. He was not campaigning for it. By his own account, Mayweather came to him. And when money is on the table, we are talking tens of millions of dollars. Building on the roughly $30 million Tyson reportedly made from the Jake Paul fight, it becomes very hard for a man like Mike Tyson to say no, especially when saying no means sitting still. And sitting still is the one thing Mike Tyson has never been able to do.
He came, he said, damn, we got a bag, huh, Mike?
No, I ain't say that.
No, it's a bag, though.
The money is real. Nobody is pretending otherwise. The fight is confirmed as an 8-round exhibition with no judges and no official winner, similar to Tyson's 2020 bout with Roy Jones Jr. Open weight class, no limits. Tyson at around 220 pounds against Mayweather, who fought his prime at 147 to 154. On paper, this is entertainment, not competition, but the punches are real. The damage is real. And the body absorbing those punches has been through things that would have retired most people permanently. The choice of venue is deliberate. The Democratic Republic of Congo is where Muhammad Ali fought George Foreman in 1974, in what became known as the Rumble in the Jungle. Promoters are banking on that nostalgia, and ex-users were quick to call this a sequel. The symbolism is thick. 2 American legends fighting on African soil decades after Ali did the same. But Ali was 32 when he fought Foreman. Tyson is 59. Mayweather will be 49 by the time the fight happens. Their combined age is 108 years. That is not nostalgia. That is something else entirely. And yet, as of February 17, 2026, neither Tyson's nor Mayweather's official X accounts have directly posted about the fight in recent weeks. Tyson's feed has been focused on health and endorsements. No specific arena has been named. No broadcast partner has been confirmed. Betting markets like Polymarket are active, but reflect genuine uncertainty about whether the fight will actually happen. Some users on X have been blunt, calling it a nostalgia tour, not a real fight, while others are calling for it to be canceled outright, given Tyson's age and physical condition. So when Tyson says it's happening, what he really means is he wants it to happen. Whether his body will let it happen is a different question, and the answer to that question starts with what has been going on with his health, which has been far worse than most people realize. Body that is breaking down. To understand why the Mayweather fight is so alarming, you have to understand what Mike Tyson's body has been through in just the last 2 years alone. This is not a man dealing with one problem. This is a man whose entire physical foundation has been cracking piece by piece in ways that are painful to watch and even more painful to hear him describe. It starts with the incident that almost killed him. In May 2024, while training for his fight against Jake Paul, Tyson suffered a ruptured peptic ulcer that was nearly 3 inches wide. The rupture caused catastrophic internal bleeding, so severe that he needed 10 separate blood transfusions just to survive. He lost 26 pounds. He was lying in a hospital bed, looking up at the ceiling, and he asked his doctor one question: "Am I going to die?" That is not an exaggeration. That is not dramatization. That is what happened. And this was not some ancient history buried in the 1990s. This was 2024. Less than 2 years before the fight, he is now trying to schedule a fight with Floyd Mayweather. The ulcer alone would have been enough to sideline most athletes for good. But for Tyson, it was just one entry on a growing list, because layered on top of that near-death experience is a condition that has been quietly eating away at his mobility for years: severe sciatica. This is a nerve condition that, when it flares, does not just cause discomfort. It leaves Tyson unable to walk and unable to speak. He has been seen in public using a wheelchair. He has been seen using a cane. These are not staged moments for sympathy. These are the real consequences of a body that was pushed to the absolute edge for decades and is now paying the price. And then there is the condition that in some ways tells the most uncomfortable story of all. In November 2025, shortly before his 59th birthday, Tyson publicly revealed a debilitating foot fungus condition that he has been dealing with since the 1980s. The cause? He refused to wear socks during his boxing career because he wanted to maintain what he called a tough guy image. For over 40 years, that decision has been rotting his feet from the inside out. He described it as a disintegrating dose of fungus that is really bad and still really bad now. His toes, according to him, look like they blew up. Over-the-counter treatments like Desinex do nothing. He jokingly called it his greatest opponent because it is, in his words, still kicking my ass now. But underneath the jokes, this is a chronic, worsening condition with no end in sight. And these are just the confirmed issues. Persistent rumors about Parkinson's disease have followed Tyson for years, fueled by visible tremors that the public has noticed during interviews and public appearances. Tyson has denied the rumors, but the tremors have not stopped. And when you combine tremors with sciatica, a ruptured ulcer, chronic foot fungus, and the accumulated head trauma from a 58-fight professional career, plus exhibition bouts, the picture that emerges is not one of a man who should be stepping into any ring against anyone for any amount of money. The Jake Paul fight in November 2024 made all of this visible in a way that could not be ignored. Tyson experienced missing time during the fight due to head trauma, meaning there were moments he simply does not remember. The public reaction shifted dramatically. What had started as excitement, the legendary Iron Mike stepping back in, turned into something closer to pity. People were not cheering, they were wincing. They were watching a 58-year-old man absorb punches from a 27-year-old YouTuber and realizing this was not entertainment anymore. This was something else. His family felt it too. Before the Paul fight, Tyson quit cannabis, which he had been using consistently in order to train, and the result was unchecked rage that frightened the people closest to him. His family kept their distance during fight camp, not because they did not love him, but because they were afraid of what he became without the thing that kept him calm. And Tyson himself has spoken about this transformation in terms that are haunting.
Because I'm in pain, I'm suffering. What am I doing? I promised myself I wouldn't do this to myself, my body, my family again, but I put myself in that.
That right there. That is a man who knows what he is doing to himself. He is not delusional. He is not pretending his body is fine. He is in pain, he is suffering, and he is fully aware that he swore he would not put himself through it again.
I put myself in it.
Do you like who you are, Mike? When you are in fight camp, do you like that person?
Wow, I can't believe you. No, I don't like that guy too much.
I completely understand that.
And when the interviewer asks if he likes who he becomes during training, the version of himself that fight camp demands, his answer is immediate and unguarded. He does not like that person. He has said it before in different words across different interviews for years. The fighter inside him is someone he fears, someone his family fears, someone who does not care about other people's feelings.
That guy don't give a fuck about nobody's feelings.
But if you're not that guy.
And then comes the part that really lands.
My wife and my family understands that. That's why they're not around me, else they keep their distance, because they know that's just fear. Just fear yelling out. That's my fear without saying that I'm afraid. Without saying you're afraid, you're showing your fear.
His family stays away during fight camp, not because of anger, because of fear. Because they know what happens when Mike Tyson goes back to that place. The fear yells out of him, and everyone around him feels it. This is the cost of every fight, not just the physical toll, the emotional destruction that radiates outward to the people who love him most. And yet, he keeps going back. The Mayweather fight is the latest example, but it is not the first. And unless something stops him, it will not be the last. The question is, why? Why does a man who has almost died, who cannot walk some days, who has a foot condition that has been worsening for 4 decades, who scares his own family when he trains, why does that man keep fighting? The answer is more complicated and more heartbreaking than you might expect. The reason he cannot stop. There is a clip that circulates online where someone asks Mike Tyson a simple question, "Are you going to keep fighting?" And his answer tells you everything you need to know about why this man, at 59 years old, with a body that is disintegrating, cannot walk away.
Are you going to keep fighting, Mike? You going to keep fighting?
Ooh.
That pause, that ooh. He does not say yes immediately. He does not laugh it off. He sits with it for a second, like the question hits somewhere deeper than he expected, and then he starts talking about his son.
Listen, I'm gonna say this, I have a 14-year-old son.
This is where the conversation shifts from boxing into something far more personal. Tyson has a 14-year-old son, and that son asked him a question that stopped him cold.
Something happened, me and my wife was talking about the fight, and my son said, why are you doing it? And for a moment, I didn't know what to say.
His son asked him why, not with curiosity, not with excitement, with confusion. Why are you doing this? And Mike Tyson, the man who has an answer for everything, who has talked his way through decades of press conferences and interviews and trash talk, did not have an answer. He felt sad, not angry, not defensive, sad. Because his 14-year-old son was looking at him, a man covered in injuries, a man who nearly died from internal bleeding, a man who cannot walk on some days, and asking the most basic question a child can ask a parent: why are you hurting yourself? And the answer Tyson eventually gave is the one that reveals everything.
For that moment, I didn't know what to say. He said, why are you doing it? Why? He had that little add why.
Yeah.
And I felt sad for a moment. I said, wow. I said, because I'm the best that ever did it. That's why.
Because I am the best that ever did it. That is his answer. Not money, not fame, not because someone challenged him, because his identity, the deepest, most fundamental understanding he has of who he is tied to fighting. He is Mike Tyson. He is the youngest heavyweight champion in history. He is the man who knocked out 44 opponents. And if he is not fighting, then who is he?
What did he say to that?
He didn't get it, but I said, I have to.
His son did not understand. Of course he did not. He is 14. He sees his father in pain and wants it to stop. But Tyson says, I have to. And that phrase carries a weight that goes far beyond boxing. He is not saying he has to fight because of a contract or a paycheck. He is saying he has to fight because without it, he does not know who he is. The ring is the only place where the chaos inside him makes sense. The only place where the rage, the fear, the pain, all of it has a purpose. This is what makes the Mayweather situation so terrifying. It is not just an old fighter taking one more payday. It is a man who is psychologically unable to stop, whose entire sense of self depends on being the thing that is destroying him. And he knows it. He has said it out loud, in moments of raw honesty that most people only see in short clips but rarely sit with long enough to understand.
I know the art of fight. I know the art of war. That's all I ever studied. That's why I'm so feared. That's why they feared me when I was in the ring, because I was an annihilator. That's all I was born for.
All he ever studied was fighting. All he was born for, in his own words, was annihilation. That is not a career description. That is an identity. And when you build your entire existence around one thing, what happens when that thing is gone?
Now those days are gone. It's empty. I'm nothing. I'm working on being the art of humbleness.
He says he is nothing. Not that he feels like nothing, that he is nothing. The days of being the most feared man on the planet are over, and what is left is an emptiness that he is trying to fill with humility, with family, with business ventures. But none of it replaces the ring. None of it gives him the same sense of meaning. And then comes the part that breaks you.
Can you be with me? That's the reason why I'm crying, because I'm not that person no more. And I miss him. Because sometimes I feel like a bitch.
He is crying because he misses the version of himself that terrified everyone. He misses the monster, and at the same time, he is afraid of that monster. He does not want it to come back because of what comes with it.
Because I don't want that person to come out, because if he comes out, hell is coming with him.
Hell is coming with him. That is not a metaphor for Tyson. That is lived experience. Every time he goes back to fighting, the person who emerges is someone his family cannot be around, someone he himself does not like, someone who operates on pure aggression and fear. And the only way to keep that person locked away is to stop fighting. But stopping fighting means becoming nothing. This is the trap. This is why a 59-year-old man with a ruptured ulcer, sciatica, foot fungus, and possible neurological symptoms is trying to get into a ring with Floyd Mayweather in the Congo, because the alternative, sitting at home, being a retired former champion, being ordinary, feels worse to him than the physical destruction, and the money makes it easier to justify.
And it's not funny at all. It must sound cool, like I'm a tough guy. It's just, I hate that guy. I'm scared of him.
He made more money in his 50s from fighting than he did in his 20s when he was the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. That is a staggering statement. In his prime, Tyson was earning hundreds of millions, but after filing for bankruptcy in 2003, it all evaporated. Now, through exhibition fights and the spectacle economy that YouTube and streaming have created, he is earning more than ever. The Jake Paul fight alone reportedly brought in around $30 million. The Mayweather fight, if it happens, would likely match or exceed that. But even as he says it, you can hear something shift.
Listen, I made more money in my 50s than I did in my 20s.
Wow.
That's amazing. Fighting. And I only had, 4 of these fights over my 50s. So
Yeah.
Wow.
that's really interesting. I look at it from that perspective now. I'm 60 years old. The money doesn't mean nothing, and then the people I love I can take care of.
Yeah.
The money does not mean anything to him anymore. He says it plainly. What matters is that the people he loves are taken care of. And that is the cruelest irony of all. The man is destroying his body to provide for the same family that has to stay away from him when he is in fight camp because they are afraid of who he becomes. A sport that is dying and a man who cannot let it go. There is another layer to why Mike Tyson keeps fighting, and it goes beyond personal identity and money. He believes boxing itself is dying, and he feels a responsibility, maybe even an obligation, to do something about it before it is too late. In mid-February 2026, Tyson publicly declared, "Listen, boxing is dying, and that is what's driving me." That single sentence reframes everything. It is not just about Mike Tyson trying to recapture glory or earn another paycheck. In his mind, he is trying to save a sport that gave him everything: his identity, his wealth, his purpose, and is now slowly disappearing from American culture. And the numbers, at least the way Tyson sees them, support his concern. He talked about how the heavyweight championship, which used to be one of the most prestigious titles in all of sports, is now held by someone who is nearly anonymous to the average American. In the 1980s, when Tyson was coming up through the ranks in Brooklyn, amateur boxing clubs were everywhere. Competitions were frequent. Local gyms had Golden Gloves tournaments that funneled young fighters into the professional ranks. That infrastructure has largely collapsed. The amateur pipeline that produced fighters like Tyson, like Ali, like Sugar Ray Leonard, it has dried up in ways that are measurable and devastating. Tyson pointed to the contrast between what he experienced as a young fighter and what exists today. Back then, there were frequent local events, accessible gyms in low-income neighborhoods, and a clear path from amateur to professional. Today, the clubs are closing, the competitions are fewer, and the fighters coming out of the United States are, in Tyson's view, falling behind their international rivals. Countries like Ukraine, Kazakhstan, Cuba, and the United Kingdom are producing world champions at a rate that America simply cannot match anymore. And one of the biggest symbolic threats on the horizon is the potential exclusion of boxing from the 2028 Olympics in Los Angeles, an event that, historically, has been the single most important launching pad for amateur boxing boxers to gain recognition and transition to professional careers. The professional side of the sport is not doing much better, according to Tyson. He criticized the fragmented promoter system that currently runs boxing, where multiple sanctioning bodies, competing promoters, and complicated television deals prevent the best fighters from fighting each other. Fans do not know who the champions are because there are 4 or 5 belts in every weight class, and the politics behind matchmaking often mean the most exciting fights never get made. Tyson compared this unfavorably to the UFC, which has a single promoter, a single champion per weight class, and a system that consistently delivers matchups the fans want to see. Boxing, by contrast, has become a fractured industry where the product suffers because the business side cannot get out of its own way. This frustration is not just talk. Tyson is putting action behind it. He announced the Mike Tyson Invitational, a 3-day amateur boxing event in Las Vegas, scheduled for March 12th through 14th, 2026. The goal is to provide a platform for amateur fighters, the next generation, to compete, gain exposure, and start rebuilding the pipeline that has been crumbling for decades. It is a meaningful gesture, and it speaks to a genuine love for the sport that goes beyond Tyson's own career. But here is where it gets complicated. The same man who is trying to save amateur boxing is also scheduling an exhibition fight with a 48-year-old Floyd Mayweather in the Congo. And the optics of that are, to put it politely, mixed. On one hand, Tyson would argue that high-profile exhibitions generate attention for boxing. They get people talking. They introduce the sport to younger audiences who might otherwise never watch a fight, and they create massive revenue that can be funneled back into the sport. On the other hand, critics on X have called it a money grab that undermines the very thing Tyson says he is trying to protect. When the 2 biggest names in boxing are a 59-year-old and a 48-year-old fighting in an exhibition with no judges and no winner, what does that say about the state of the sport? It says exactly what Tyson has been warning about. Boxing has no current star big enough to carry it. There is no active fighter today who can generate the kind of attention that Tyson and Mayweather still command just by saying each other's names.
2 biggest names in the whole, what is this, the 20th century and shit? This is the fucking 21st century. These are the 2 biggest names in the 21st century.
That is a bold claim, but it is hard to argue with. Name a current active boxer who can sell out an arena in the Congo on name recognition alone. Name one who can generate trending topics on every social media platform just by confirming a fight. You cannot. And that is the problem. The sport's biggest draws are men who should be retired, and the current generation has not produced anyone capable of replacing them. Tyson's relationship with the sport he loves is deeply intertwined with his relationship with his own past. And that past is something he has struggled with publicly in ways that are more painful than most people realize. In his conversation with Joe Rogan, Tyson was asked about whether he still watches boxing. His answer was telling.
What is it like for you to watch boxing these days?
It's just not my life anymore.
You don't watch it at all? Like, did you watch Tyson Fury,
No, I
Deontay
didn't watch
Wilder?
it.
Boxing is not in his life anymore, he says, and yet he keeps stepping back into it. He does not watch other fighters compete. He does not follow the current landscape, but he will schedule an exhibition in the Congo.
You don't follow any of it today?
I always, that's part of my life.
Right.
I got mixed feelings with that part of my life.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mixed feelings. That is how he describes his relationship with the sport that made him. He has things about himself from that era that he does not like, memories he would rather forget, a version of himself that he is actively trying to leave behind.
You know what I mean? It's a lot of stuff about that I don't like about myself and stuff. I try to forget that stuff because I'm on a whole different pattern. Yeah.
He is trying to move on. He is trying to become a different person. And yet, every time a big enough offer comes along, or every time he sees the sport slipping further away from relevance, he gets pulled back. The fighter in him will not stay buried. This is the contradiction at the heart of Mike Tyson's life in 2026. He wants boxing to thrive, but he is disgusted by what it did to him. He wants to help the next generation, but he keeps putting himself in the ring instead of stepping aside. He wants peace, but he cannot find it anywhere except in the chaos of a fight. The man versus the monster. Joe Rogan said something to Mike Tyson during their conversation that cut to the core of everything. He told Tyson that people loved the old version of him because that version was a drug. Not the man, the experience, the excitement, the unpredictability.
Well, people love that guy because that guy gave them a drug, and that drug was excitement. Like you turn on the TV, like, oh, here we go.
And that is what it was. When you bought a Mike Tyson pay-per-view in the late 1980s, you were not buying a boxing match. You were buying a feeling, the anticipation of violence, the knowledge that something extraordinary and potentially terrifying was about to happen.
Oh! That's what people wanted. They wanted that excitement. They knew some crazy is about to go down. Unpredictable. No one knows what's going to happen in a fight. Is it going to be a right or a left? Is he going to move right? Is he going to move left? How's it going to work out?
Rogan understood it. The audience was not there for technique or strategy. They were there for the chaos. And Tyson delivered it every single time.
And that's what you brought people. You brought people this chaotic moment. You slapped down the money in the pay-per-view, you got out your popcorn, and you waited for the rush of excitement.
Those crazy days.
Crazy days.
And what followed was the rush, the anticipation, and then the explosion. 30 seconds, 60 seconds, 90 seconds. That was often all it took. Michael Spinks lasted 91 seconds. The crowd barely had time to sit down before it was over. That was the Mike Tyson experience. But what nobody saw was the cost of being the drug that everyone wanted. The cost of living inside that level of intensity, of rage, of destruction, not as a performance, but as a state of being. Because for Tyson, it was never an act. The ferocity was real. The darkness was real. And when the fight stopped, the darkness did not go away. It just had nowhere to go. Rogan brought up the infamous Lennox Lewis press conference, where Tyson said things that shocked even the most hardened boxing fans. And Tyson's reaction to hearing about his own past was revealing.
Yeah, I look at some of those press conferences a long time ago, what I'm saying these guys, I would never talk to anybody like that. It's just such a different world now. My world is so different now.
He would never talk to anybody like that now. The man sitting across from Joe Rogan is not the same man who threatened to eat Lennox Lewis's children. That person existed in a different universe, fueled by a different kind of energy, operating under a different set of rules. And Tyson does not want to go back there. He says his world is different now. He has children. He has a wife. He has a life that is built on something other than destruction. And yet the public still wants the old Mike. They still want the drug. And that creates a tension that Tyson has never been able to resolve.
Do you feel when you watch that stuff that you feel almost like trapped by that past, like that you have to acknowledge it? You don't even acknowledge it anymore?
He feels trapped by it. The past is a cage that follows him everywhere. People recognize him because of it. People pay to see him because of it. The Mayweather fight exists because of it. And every time he steps back into that world, even for an exhibition, even for a fun bout with no judges, he is not just fighting another man. He is fighting the version of himself that he spent decades trying to kill.
Yeah, I'm almost a little bit like, I don't want to be involved. I wish that never happened.
Yeah.
He wishes it never happened. The career, the fame, the violence, all of it. Not because it was not extraordinary, it was, but because the price was too high. The person he had to become to achieve what he achieved is someone he does not want to be anymore. And yet, that person is the only one the world wants to see.
But kind of had to happen for you to be who you are now.
Yeah, but no, it's because people, this is the real reason, right, Joe? People love that guy.
People love that guy. He did not. That is the sentence that summarizes Mike Tyson's entire existence in 2026. The world loves the monster. The monster. Yeah, made him rich, made him famous, made him a legend, but the monster also nearly killed him, destroyed his relationships, cost him everything, and left him alone in hospital beds, asking doctors if he was going to die. And now, at 59, with a body that barely works, with sciatica that puts him in a wheelchair, with a foot fungus that has been eating his toes for 40 years, with a ruptured ulcer that almost ended his life, he's getting ready to let the monster out one more time in the Congo, against Floyd Mayweather, for one more bag, for one more rush, for one more moment where Mike Tyson gets to be the thing he was born to be, even if it is the thing that is killing him. And that is what makes this update so terrifying. Not the health problems, not the fight itself, not the money or the spectacle. What is terrifying is that Mike Tyson knows exactly what he is doing to himself. He has said it out loud. He has cried about it on camera. He has told his son, "I have to," and nobody, not his family, not his doctors, not the promoters, not the fans, can make him stop. Because to stop fighting would mean becoming nothing. And for Mike Tyson, nothing is the one thing he has never been able to survive. Rogan said something at the end of their exchange about boxing that Tyson agreed with completely. It was about what kind of person becomes a fighter.
Probably. I mean, I don't think a kid that grows up in a loving household with supportive parents.
You got boxing for when you have nothing.
Boxing is for when you have nothing. That is where Mike Tyson started. And in some ways, despite the money and the fame and the family he has built, that is where a part of him still lives. In a place where you have nothing, and the only way out is through violence, through pain, through the ring.
When you do boxing, when you just had nothing, because that's a lot of dedication, that's a lot of pain, that's a lot of aggravation, a lot of, it's really is discovering who you are.
A lot of dedication, a lot of pain, a lot of aggravation. That was true when he was 20, and it is true now at 59. The only difference is that at 20, his body could handle it. But at 59, every fight takes something from him that he cannot get back. The Mayweather fight may happen, and it may not. But the real question is, was the fight ever realistic? Or were fans sold a dream from the start? Let me know what you think in the comments section. For more videos like this, click on this next card on your screen.